Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be doing my final NHL mock draft and top 60 prospect rankings. Now with the NHL draft lottery right around the corner, I thought this was the best time possible to release my final rankings for the 2020 NHL entry draft. We're going to be going for my top 60 from 60 all the way down to the number 1 prospect in this draft. So with my rankings this time around, the final one for the 2020 draft, who do I see as the best prospects and which prospects make my top 60? Watch till the end for all my rankings and analysis, and of course hit that big red subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Now before I get into my top 20 where I really go in depth with these players, there's a couple of prospects that I wanted to point out as maybe surprising to some of you. Firstly, I have Ridley Greig in the 50s, and there is a reason for that. You have some people like Bob McKenzie having them in their first round, and I could see why. He has a decent floor, I think a guy who has decent tools and can become an okay third liner, but I just don't see anything more than that. Compared to a guy like Martin Chromiak, who I have ahead of him, I just see having a lot more good offensive tools and a lot more of a chance of becoming a top 6 player in the NHL. It is still pretty small, but I think it can potentially happen. Same thing with Caden Gooley, who is in my 40s. Some people have him in their top 20, and again, I could see why. He's very great when it comes to size, when it comes to physical play, and his defensive game has some potential. But to me, the offense, I just don't see enough of it to even consider him as a first-round prospect. Now, getting us started in the top 20, and at number 20 in my final draft rankings for the 2020 draft, I have QMJHLer Maverick Bourque. Now, Maverick Bourque was pretty great in the Q this year, getting a 1.45 points per game, which was 9th in the entire league, 71 points in 49 games. And I think Bourque is a guy that doesn't have anything absolutely exceptional about his game, but does a lot of things correctly. And that's a guy that's pretty enticing in my opinion. Not a top 15 guy for me, and not really close either, but a guy at number 20 I would really love to have as a pretty great middle 6 guy. But now coming in at number 19, and one of my favorite offensive minds in this draft, that being Lukas Reichel. One of the 3 highly touted German prospects in this first round, a guy that I just love to watch on the ice. This year got 24 points in 42 DEL games, and was just great overall. The defense, yes, could use some work, but the talent man could produce a pretty great top 6 winger. Now moving on to number 18 for my final draft rankings for the 2020 draft, I have Canadian winger Dylan Holloway. Now Dylan Holloway is definitely one of the more safer picks in this top 20, and that's why he's kind of fell a little bit in my rankings over the past couple of months, but still at the same time I do like his tools, and I think as a pretty complete middle 6 winger, I think he could totally become that. In the NCAA this year, got 17 points in 35 games, and although he is one of the oldest players in that draft, I still think having those stats and having that performance, especially when it was great at the end of the year, pretty much completes the look for Holloway as a pretty solid middle 6 checker. Now going on to number 17 in my final draft rankings for the 2020 draft, I have Canadian center Jacob Perreault. Now one of the more offensive players in this top 20, just like Lukas Reichel, I just love watching this guy. Offensively, he is so creative, so gifted, and I think the raw tools he has, I think could become a second line center for sure, especially you put him on the power play and he'll just absolutely dominate. In the OHL this year, got 70 points in 57 games, was second in Sarnia Sting scoring, and that's a guy that whether he's a center, whether he's a winger, will be brilliant offensively, and I think that will be his bread and butter. Now going on to number 16 and highly rising USA defenseman Jake Sanderson. Now I'm not on the Jake Sanderson train as much as some other people, but the strengths that he has are absolutely fantastic strengths to have. He is so mature already at such a young age. He is still 17, he doesn't turn 18 until July 8th, and that's a player that the defensive regimen he has and the potential he has in that area is just so quality. He might not be the best defenseman in this draft, but in terms of just pure raw defensive ability, he does have that over Jamie Drysdale. Now coming inside the top 15, and at number 15, I have Canadian winger Jack Quinn. Now Quinn was just great this year for the Ottawa 67s, getting 89 points, 52 goals in 62 games, and although he is one of the oldest players in this draft, I think has one of the better goal scoring tool sets. I think Alexander Holtz is a better pure goal scorer, but Jack Quinn is not far behind. Now coming in at number 14, the best goaltender of this draft, that being Yaroslav Askarov. Now Askarov is the best goaltender in this draft, but to me, I never put goaltenders in the top 10, so don't be surprised that he's at number 14. I still think he's far and away the best goalie in this draft when it comes to size, athleticism. It really is all there, and if he becomes a top 10 NHL goaltender with the frame he has and the skill set he has, I would not be too surprised. Now going on to another Russian player, number 13, that being my boy, Rodion Amirov. Now, like Perreault, like Reichel, I just love watching him play, but not exactly for the same reasons. It's more so the maturity he brings and the overall great play and intensity that he puts out on the ice. He got 22 points in 17 MHL games this year, which was just great for the age he was at. And I think Amirov is a guy that, let's say Lundell didn't exist in this draft, I think he would be one of, if not the best defensive forward in this one. Just a complete overall defensive mind, and the offense is pretty great too. Now going in at number 12, another Canadian player from the Q, that being Dawson Mercer. Now I think not just in terms of wingers, but also just forwards, I think he's one of the most complete forwards out there in this draft, who really does do it all. Defensively is really sound, really compact with his game, doesn't really do too much, but doesn't really need to. In the offensive end though, I really do love his tools. Before he was traded from Drummondville, he got 42 points in 26 games in the Q, which was just stupendous. I think the offensive skill set is there to become a great second line forward who can get up to 60 points even at the NHL level. Now getting into another one of my boys at number 11, that being Seth Jarvis. Now Seth Jarvis had an amazing second half, rounding out the season to get 98 points in 58 WHL games, was just great overall. And I think when it comes to the shot, when it comes to the drive, when it comes to the overall offensive ability, that's a guy that I could see becoming a first line winger. The defense, yes, could use some work, but he is a winger and the offense is what counts most. Now getting us inside the top 10, and at number 10 I have Swedish winger Noel Gunler. Now in terms of just pure offensive ceiling, I like Gunler quite a bit. Just like Seth Jarvis, I think he has a pretty solid chance of becoming not just a top 6 guy, but even potentially a first line winger. Although it will take a lot of work to happen, I think he has a strong work ethic, and the skating, the puck skills, and the sneaky hockey IQ rounds out into a brilliant offensive package that I think will be in the NHL in a short couple of years. Now going on to the second Swede in the top 10, that being Alexander Holtz. Now if you have Holtz a lot higher, I don't exactly blame you, because his goal scoring regimen is just insane, and I think he can become the best goal scorer of this draft, but I think there is still some big red flags in his game, mostly just creating chances in the SHL, which were lackluster compared to guys like Gunler and Lucas Raymond, and I just think his overall body of work, I think will use some work to get to the NHL level and actually be productive there, but at the same time the raw tools are there, and he has one of the best shots in this draft, which you just can't ignore. Now coming in as number 8, my favorite prospect in the 2020 draft, I have Finnish center Anton Lundell. To me, Anton Lundell is the best defensive forward in this draft, and in terms of pure defensive potential, also has the best in my opinion. That's a guy that was already so good at such a young age in the Liga, getting great offensive stats, especially when the year went on, and also just dominating puck possession. That's a player that might not be completely NHL ready, but after a year, I think could be that. And in terms of anybody winning a Selke trophy in this draft class, to me, Anton Lundell has the best chance of doing that, and it's not exactly close. Now coming in at number 7, I have Canadian center Cole Perfetti. Now I think he has the potential to go top 5 in this draft. I don't exactly agree with it, but at the same time I can see why. His puck skills are great, his offensive IQ is one of the best in this draft I think, but this skating is a pretty valid red flag in my opinion, and that's why he isn't higher. I think his potential could be a first line center for sure, but I think he's kind of in that middle area of being a great second C, but not enough to be a top 10 NHL center. Now getting into number 6, in my opinion, the best defenseman in the 2020 draft, even though some people make it a lot more of a competition lately, that being Jamie Drysdale. Now, Jamie Drysdale, in my opinion, is the best defenseman in the draft. Some people do have Jake Sanderson ahead of him, which I just don't understand. At the same time, though, I think Drysdale is a lot better of an offensive mind when it comes to skating. I think he beats Sanderson as well when it comes to IQ, when it comes to puck skills, and just pure offensive talent. I think he definitely is a lot better than Sanderson. I will give Sanderson the defensive edge, but at the same time, Drysdale is a guy that defensively holds up his own pretty well, and in the World Juniors for Team Canada was surprisingly a huge part of that gold-winning team. Now getting us inside the top 5, and at number 5, I have Austrian center Marco Rossi. To me, Marco Rossi is one of the best bets to make the NHL, even potentially as soon as next season. He was just way too good for the OHL this year, being first in OHL scoring with 120 points in 56 games. Now coming in at number 4, I have the third and last Swede in the top 10, that being Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond is a guy that, in terms of being a top 5 pick, I think totally deserves to be there. But for some people, and especially in this NHL draft, might be slipping to 6, 7, or even number 8. And that's pretty surprising to me because when it comes to pure potential, Lucas Raymond is one of the best in this draft. I think in terms of being a first-line winger, I think he could totally become that with his insane puck skills, his brilliant, tantalizing skating, and just an overall great overall game. That's a player that I would love to have on my team, and especially at number 4, could be one of the bigger steals of this draft, even in the top 5. Now coming in at number 3, and I think a lot of people in the comments have waited me to put him here, that being Tim Stutzle coming in at number 3. You know, I think Tim Stutzle is a guy that can go overrated at times, and I certainly don't even question him being over Quinton Byfield. But I've said for a long time that even though I had Tim Stutzle at number 4, it was very close between him and Lucas Raymond. But right now, I do slightly prefer Tim Stutzle, and it is super close. Having Tim Stutzle number 2 in the NHL rankings for Bob McKenzie kind of made me look at him a little bit more. And in terms of just offensive potential and the skills he already has, even though I think his season kind of went a little bit overrated as well, that's still a guy that tool set wise and offensively could become a dominant first-line winger. Now coming in at number 2, I have the man, the myth, the legend, the Canadian center, Quinton Byfield. Now, I think there's a lot of people right now that have Quinton Byfield outside the top 2, which even though I have Tim Stutzle at number 3 now, I just can't fathom that. And there was a couple of scouts in the Bob McKenzie rankings that had a number 6, which just baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. To me, Quinton Byfield has the best chance of being the best player in this draft besides Alexis Lafreniere. And if Alexis Lafreniere didn't exist, Quinton Byfield would be my number 1, no problem. To me, he just has such a great pedigree already at such a young age, and the offensive skill set combined with his speed, when it combines with his skating and his size, creates a pretty good bet to become a number 1 center and a guy that can dominate you in every area. But now getting into the number 1 prospect for the 2020 draft, my final draft rankings. At number 1, I have Alexis Lafreniere. Now last year there was a big debate between Capo Caco and Jack Hughes, and this time around I don't really see that debate happening too much. Alexis Lafreniere is the best prospect in this draft, showed that over the course of this QMJHL season. The size, the speed, the skill set, the physical play, and the strong defensive game that he just always puts out there creates a guy who is complete NHL winger who I think could contend for the Calder Trophy next season. But those are my final rankings for the 2020 NHL Draft. Let me know down in the comments down below what you agree and disagree with. Let me know where you would have these top prospects and where. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell for more videos just like this one. Share it with your friends, boys. Get the final draft rankings out there, and click on this card right here to watch all of my 2021 NHL Draft content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. I love y'all. Thanks so much for watching these videos throughout the past year, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.